Hey everybody, what's going on? We're Bards in the basement. Right, Bards in the basement.
I'm Mark.
Rich. And we're kind of new to YouTube. Just decided we would do a thing and show you guys how to make some weird D&D characters. This might be your first time making a D&D character. So stick around this channel because we're going to do some fun stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
What do we got today?
We're going to do a Barbarian Bard, or as I call it, a Bardbarian.
Also ale. We are going to actually roll for the stats. This is very dangerous. A lot of DMs don't like to do this, but we're going to do this because it's YouTube. Why not? Here goes the first roll. That is good. That is good. Dropping the last. That is a 14.
And what he started with is rolling 4 6-sided dice, and he's dropping the lowest number, and he adds up the 3 highest.
That is a 12. Oh yeah.
We're going to do this 6 times.
That is also a 12. That's an 11. So it's a really good start. It's really, we're gonna get a 7 right here. Watch. Close. 9. Okay. Come on. Something over a 14. Oh yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. That's a 17. And that is all 6. So we have 14, 12, 12, 11, 9, and 17.
Now, it's important to have an idea of what you're doing with your stats so you can allocate them correctly. There are different methods of picking your stats, but since we went with the rolling, we know we're going to want to go into a multi-class. And to multi-class, you need 2 stats. One, for the Bard, you need your Charisma to be above a 13, and for Barbarian, you need your Strength to be over a 13.
And that is on page 163 of the player's handbook, if you have it handy. Where are we starting this Bardbarian at?
Well, when I played around with it, I started with Bard.
Bard. So we'll start him at a Bard. And the race?
I elected to go with a half-elf. And that's because every race gives you bonuses to your base stats. It just depends on which ones you pick. Half-elf gives you a +2 to your charisma and a +1 to 2 separate stats of your choice. So it really worked out for knowing I was going to multi-class into this.
Okay. So why don't we start there and plug in the half-elf things? All right. Yeah. Walking speed is 30 feet. It's 30 feet per round. And the first trait we get is dark vision.
Now, dark vision means you can see in the dark up to 60 feet, as if it was in dim light. The important thing to note about dark vision is it doesn't actually give you color. You see everything in hues of gray.
And the next is Fey Ancestry, which gives you advantage on saving throws against being charmed. And magic can't put you to sleep. Which is huge in this game because it seems like everything wants to put you to sleep magically. A couple of things we will get back to, but we will make note that we get +2 skills. So we get proficiency in, what is my mouse? 2 of these skills of our choice. And the last thing is languages. We get Common, Elvish, and +1. You get to pick one. That's fun. So, where I like to go next is I like to go into the background next, because it lets us know what other skills we get before we decided to become a bard. So in this case, we picked
Entertainer.
Entertainer.
which just really thematically fit with him because it gave him the options of he's always sort of been an entertainer. It's how he's been making his living.
So, for the entertainer, we get a skill proficiency in acrobatics and performance. And this little dot, clicking this little dot or circling this in your character sheet denotes that you have proficiency. We'll get into that later, but at first level it's always a +2. So if that helps. For tool proficiencies, we get a
disguise kit. And you would use that in a lot of roleplay situations. If you want to try to deceive somebody, but they maybe know who you are, and it has not been going well for you with them, so you could try to disguise yourself or one of your teammates. That would be completely up to the DM's discretion.
We're also proficient with one type of musical instrument. Did you have one in mind?
I actually went with guitar for this.
Guitar. Interesting. And our starting equipment, we will start with a musical instrument, one of your choice.
Which was the guitar.
We'll go with guitar. And a favor. A favor of an admirer.
For this, I went with... it gave you a couple of options, and for this, I wrote in a lock of hair of a lost loved one.
Jeez, I can't spell that.
As just something that keeps he keeps close to his heart no matter what happens.
A costume, which is strictly for roleplay purposes. It does nothing. All of these things, the favor, the costume, they don't do anything mechanically in the game, but flavor-wise, it helps build your character more.
And that's again up to your DM and the story that he's telling and weaving for you.
It says we start with a belt pouch with 15 gold. And the entertainer routines. Next, you can pick up a D10 and just roll with the die, or you can pick from this chart on page 130. It gives you 10 options of things that you specialize in as your entertainer background.
And it does recommend picking 1 to 3. I went with singer.
I'm gonna add that in here. Background routine. Singer.
Actor.
Actor.
Hey, sorry guys.
Still new with this.
Instrumentalist. And that plays into being a bard. He has proficiency with 3 other musical instruments besides the guitar, which we'll get to in a moment here.
Yeah, that was gonna be way wrong. It's right in front of me. What am I doing?
It's okay, Ricky's not an English teacher.
I'm not. You also get a new feature. It's called By Popular Demand. And essentially what this does is you can always find a place to perform, usually at an inn or a tavern, circus, theater. They give certain examples. And pretty much what it says is, as long as you perform each night, you receive free lodging and food for either a modest or a comfortable standing, which is done by your DM. You probably won't have to worry about figuring that out.
That is referenced in the Dungeon Master's Guide of what is considered comfortable, extravagant, anything like that. But again, it's really up to DM's discretion. But it's a great way to save some money, especially early on.
Yes, and your DM could totally decide, hey, you can't play here. You know, they've got a house band and you're infringing upon that house band, and that brings in some really good roleplay aspects. Personality traits. Let's jump up to the personality traits. Whoop.
Now, for the next 4 things we're looking at, you can roll a 8-sided die or a 6-sided die for each corresponding chart, and you can pick things off of that, or you can just choose what you want.
Do you know what you have for the personality? Did you pick one
Actually,
up
I
there?
do. Actually, I did. Personality. I elected for him to be. I get better if I'm not the center of attention.
Gets better?
Bitter.
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 If not the center of attention.
Uh-huh.
And I change my mood or my mind as quickly as I change a key in a song. And just for reference, that's number 6 and number 8 on the personality traits, which you would roll that 8-sided die for.
Okay. And will that... Oh, yeah. See, this Adobe's not that great. It doesn't give the bleed over. But we know what's in there. And next for ideals.
And for the ideals, when you look at it in the player's handbook, they do give you 6 options. They are all listed next to either good, lawful, chaotic, evil, neutral, or any. You don't have to play them like that. So, for instance, I went with greed. I'm only in for money and fame. But for our particular alignment, I did go with neutral when I built it. That doesn't mean he's not going to be evil about it, but he does want money and fame.
And your alignment goes up here in this block.
And your alignment can actually change as you're playing, so don't feel like you're stuck once you write it down or fill it in.
Yes, like human beings in real life, people in the game are constantly changing how they feel, what they're like, and such.
For the bond, I did go with I want to be famous, whatever it takes.
Okay.
And for the flaw, again, I'll do anything to win fame and renown.
Well.
And all that says is he's so driven to be famous and to be known throughout the lands that it can be really good for him, and then at times it's going to get him into trouble.
We go straight into the class. Since we decided to start Bard, we should probably put good numbers in our charisma and our con.
Now, when I did this, what I used was a basic stat array, which is in the player's handbook, and it is 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8.
Yes.
I used that just because I happen to not have a set of dice on me, and it was an easy set of number to use. So, based off on this set, I would elect to go with the 14 into our charisma. By being a half-elf, it has a racial trait specifically that will give you an extra 2. So it actually
16.
bumps you up right away. Wisdom, I would go with the 9.
Okay.
So in any time you see a stat, if it's something bad, it doesn't mean instantly your character is terrible at something instantly. It just means it's not his strong suit.
But they say like 10 is like
Average.
average human. So he's not that wise.
Which can be played into his flaw of wanting to be renowned throughout the land and willing to do anything to accomplish that. That might cause him to have some problems that maybe he caused himself.
Maybe trying to do the same thing over and over again, trying to do the same song, not realizing like, hey, I need to change something about me and maybe I'll get better.
So
So pop one of those 12s in intelligence, or the 11?
11 I would go with.
Let's jump to 11. He's a little bit smarter than average people. You know, he can get by. He's memorized enough songs and such. There's definitely some raw talent there.
So for this, I would either put the 17 into your strength or your con, bearing in mind that you do need at least a 13 strength to multi-class into Barbarian when you're ready.
But we do have a +1 for
We
two
have-
extra skills.
Yes.
So, which are you thinking? Con or strength?
I went with Con for the stronger thing to give him more HP as we're leveling up.
Okay, so do we want to add the +1 to that? And round it out to an 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, by giving it the 18, as you'll see in a moment, all these skills will give you modifiers, and that 18 bumps you up to the next level of modifiers. So
then our strength should be a 13. We'll give our other stat bump there, and then that leaves our dex with a 12.
Yep.
So, if I know my numbers right, this gives us a -1.
Correct.
This gives us a 0.
Correct.
Charisma is a +3.
Yes.
Alright. This will be a +4. A +1.
Silence.
And a +1.
And all these secondary numbers right here on the screen, underneath the 13, the 12, the 18, 11, 9, and 16, those are all going to be factored into your saving throws and your skill bonuses.
Now, like I said, level 1, you start out with a +2 proficiency bonus. Always. Everybody, no matter what you pick, you always start at a +2. And proficiency it goes by your total number of levels, not whatever levels you are in a certain class. So say you're 16 Bard and 4 Fighter, you're not going to lose out on proficiency bonus for taking a level dip in another class. So what are the saving throws?
As a Bard, you have proficiency in dexterity and charisma checks. Saving throws.
Dexterity and charisma.
So by clicking those, you're announcing that when you roll, you're going to add your dexterity bonus, which is a 1, and your proficiency bonus, which at the moment is a 2.
So that would give us a +3 at first level.
Correct. And then your charisma, being a 16, gives you a +3, along with your proficiency bonus gives you a +5.
Your wisdom's still -1. Oh wow, these are really small. So 0, and everything just comes right over. So there's a +4. Your strength is a +1. Really tiny though.
Yep.
Sorry, everybody.
And for your skills, we have the +2 for being a half-elf, and our class actually allows us to pick any 3 skills that we want. So we get to pick an extra 5 skills.
5 skills. So where do we want them?
I went with stealth, perception,
There's 2.
deception, sleight of hand, persuasion.
That's all 5.
Yep.
Okay. So all the talky stuff.
Which makes sense because most of the talky things are going to entail your charisma bonus. And being a bard, you do get that really well. So
Now, I'm not going to go and fill all these numbers in because we're probably going to level this character up. Definitely going to level this character up. He's a Bardbarian. So we're going to wait till the end to do that, show you what it looks like. And yes, so next on the Bard, we get proficiency in light armor.
yes. And that means anything that's considered a light armor, you can wear with no benefit or disadvantages placed upon you.
Simple weapons.
And when it comes to that, that means anything that's classified as a simple weapon, you know how to use it.
And crossbows. Long swords.
Long swords. Rapiers.
Rapiers.
And short swords.
And short swords. You pretty much get the elvish weapon training as a bard. That's kind of cool.
And as stated before, you get 3 additional. Sorry, guys, 3 musical instruments. Sorry, I was having a brain fart there.
So, guitar.
I went with lute, flute, and drums.
He's a one-man band.
Exactly.
I dig it.
Start playing his own shows.
So, next we jump down to our actual starting equipment. Now, the book for every class will tell you, hey, you should start with this. This will make you a really well-rounded character. This will really do good stuff for you if you start with this stuff. And it's not like they just go, you have to pick this if you want to start good. It actually gives you options. So for the bard, you can either have a rapier, a long sword, or any simple weapon. I mean, that's great. So what do we go with?
For this, I actually went with the long sword.
All right. And we'll fill this stuff in a bit.
He gets a diplomat's pack or an entertainer's pack, which just naturally went with the entertainer's pack. And each pack comes listed with specific items located in your player's handbook with the equipments. So you don't have to write that out longhand. You can just write entertainer's pack or diplomat's pack, whatever it is, just to kind of save you some space. Because as you can see, there's not much space given for the equipment space.
I don't think I've ever used a diplomat's pack.
Well, you should play a spy sometime.
Maybe I will.
You also get a lute or any other musical instrument. I did go with the lute because it is one of the items that we have.
Okay. So we got a guitar and a lute.
And then you have the option of leather armor and a dagger. And that does not give you any other options, so you just start with those things. Now what leather armor does is it affects your AC, which is your armor class, and that decides how hard you are to hit in combat. So that's actually an 11 plus our dexterity modifier.
So our dex modifier right now is a 1.
So total it starts us with a 12, which is okay for being level 1.
Now, initiative. Some of you might have questions if you've never done this before. How the heck do I figure out initiative? I know I did my first couple characters. All it is your dexterity modifier. Meh. Done. You get a +1 to initiative. So when the DM says roll initiative and figure out where you are in battle, you roll your d20, you add your +1. Ooh, hit points. Hit points is good.
A d8, which is your 8-sided dice, plus your constitution modifier.
So we have a 4, so we would start with 12. We don't start with any temporary hit points, but we have hit dice. So we have 1d8.
And these will all go up as you level up if you're familiar with any role-playing game.
Now, for our attack bonus for our longsword. Okay, so the attack bonus is always your modifier for the weapon, which is strength for melee-based weapons, and dex for ranged weapons or weapons with finesse, plus your proficiency. So that will get us a +3 to hit. So when you roll your d20, we would add the +3. Your damage type, I know on a longsword, is 1d8.
Yep.
And plus, you also get to add your strength modifier. So +1.
And that is considered slashing damage.
Yes.
So as you're doing different damage types, you do need to note it for the DM so that he can appropriately gauge how much damage you're doing.
Yes. And your dagger will also get you a +3. And that damage...
That's a 1d4 plus your 1.
And that is piercing?
Yes.
And that is piercing. We're nerds. We get this.
It's really good to also note that to have a wide range of what damages you're able to deal, simply for the fact that if you realize maybe your slashing isn't doing so great, you can switch to a piercing weapon and be better off in the combat.
Another one that gets a lot of people is this passive perception. Passive wisdom, parentheses, perception. All this is your perception plus 10. Ours would be an 11 right now. So our spell save DC is 13.
And it's important to use your modifier, not your base charisma, that can kind of make things a little wonky, especially at this low of a level.
Yes.
And then your attack bonus is always your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier.
So we're at a +5 for our spell attacks. So anytime we have to roll something, it goes, make a spell attack against your enemy. You roll your d20 just like a regular attack, but you add this +5 instead of your +3 from your attacks.
And we'll go over what spells we will pick for this in a little bit. Because we start out with some other abilities. One of them is ritual casting. And all that means is if a spell has the tag ritual next to it, you can cast the spell as a ritual and not spend a spell slot during the day, which is important because you only get so many spell slots for each level every day. So any spell you can cast as a ritual saves you from using them.
You can also cast rituals during combat, but you have to do the amount of time it requires. It's just, if it's an hour, you're sitting there in battle for an hour. Good luck.
And then spellcasting focus, they simply state that you can use one of your musical instruments as a spellcasting focus in your bard spells. So, depending on your GM, if he makes you replenish your components for casting spells, making sure you have arcane focus or anything of that nature, which all spells list what they would need. Mm-hmm. You may have to keep track of that and make sure you have something available.
Now, even the most lenient DMs who let you have a spellcasting focus will still make you spend gold if the spell says you need X item worth X amount of gold. Like if you need a diamond worth 1,000 gold, the DM's gonna go, listen, I don't care what kind of focus you have, you're giving me the 1,000 gold. Fork it over. Which is why I don't use Chromatic Orb more than I want to.
Our next ability given is Bardic Inspiration. Now this ability can save one of your teammates. I've watched it happen so many times. Starting out, you can grant someone as a bonus action in combat an inspiration die of 1d6. So then, say they're going to try to hit a monster that your DM's put forward, and they roll, and they think that they're going to miss, they can add this inspiration die and roll that to see if they can improve that score and make it into a hit. You can make a failure into a success.
It can be added to any attack roll, saving throw, or ability check within the next 10 minutes.
The Bard can issue as many inspiration die as their charisma modifier allows.
So we will add this over here. This is what I do anyway. Everyone gets their own ways that they like to do these things. So quantity would be at a 2. So inspiration 1d6 we have 2.
Huh? That would be a 3.
3. I read that wrong. 3.
So that means 3 times a day, or as the game denotes days, a long rest, which is 8 hours of downtime. Your character does nothing but sleeps, essentially. You do recover those. So at any other point during the day, you can go, hey, I inspire him. He has an inspiration die for 10 minutes in game time. He can use at any time.
Number of times equals commod per long rest. Yes, we are shorthanding these notes. So we already have it denoted up here. I keep pointing at the screen like someone's going to see me. We have it denoted up here and down here, just in case we get confused.
The only thing else that you would get, bards do get spells to start with. Do you want to go over there?
Want to go there? Okay, yeah. We'll go over there.
To start out, you get 2 cantrips.
Cantrip 1, cantrip 2.
Yep.
It's such tiny font. Oh, hey, because I can zoom in. That's right.
There you go, dude.
Yeah! The internet! We're working. Hey, how's it going? Don't judge. It's our first time doing this.
And cantrips can be anything that's listed within the Bard spell list.
Anything. which I did not prepare, so I'm going to have to pull out my phone.
The first cantrip I went with was actually Vicious Mockery.
He already just knows. And that is a bonus action, correct?
No, that is actually an action. As much as my wife continuously tried to get you to make it a bonus action.
She had me convinced for the first session that she used it.
Now, Vicious Mockery is an excellent cantrip that allows you to do psychic damage. There's not many spells in the game that allow psychic damage. And cantrips you can cast at any time you want.
That's right. That does not take away one of your spell slots.
So this is an at-will, whenever you want. And if I'm correct, it actually scales as you get as you grow your level.
It does. It starts with 1d4 of damage if they miss their save. If they make their save, I don't believe they take any damage. But if they miss their save, it's 1d4. And as you get 5th level, it's 2d4. 11th level is 3d4. And 17th level is 4d4. And for the next cantrip?
Just a moment, let me bring up my thing as well.
We're doing this. This is a fantastic app. It is called D&D 5 Spellbook Cards, and it saved our lives countless times.
The other one I went with was actually Prestidigitation. Our character being a showman, Prestidigitation has a lot of small, tiny effects.
I don't even know how to spell this.
You can create an instantaneous harmless sensory effect, such as a shower of sparks or a puff of wind. You can instantly light or snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire. You can instantly clean or soil an object no larger than 1 cubic foot, so your robes get dirty, you can prestidigitate them into being clean again.
I've not used prestidigitation for that.
You chill, warm, or flavor up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material for 1 hour. So all you have is pond water. You can flavor it like ale. Don't give it to the barbarian. He will not like it.
I mean, if he thinks it's ale, I mean, what's the big deal?
You make a color, a small mark, or a symbol appear on an object of a surface for 1 hour. So if you want to leave a little arrow to where you're going because your party's lost you and you need them to know where you're going. And you can create a non-magical trinket or an illusionary image that can fit into your hand and last up to the end of your next turn. So maybe you're trying to get an item away from someone or keep them from something. Someone else in your party could have that item, and if it's a small item, you just create an illusion in your hand and see if you could trick the opponent. So you could buy someone some time to get away with it. So it's got a lot of little roleplay effects. You're not going to use that one so much in battle, except for maybe cleaning up the blood. But
I'd say cleaning up blood, tricking a big dumb orc, tricking the friendly barbarian.
So there's a lot of little uses. Just knowing your DM style, if he's going to do more of a dungeon crawl, you may not get too much use out of that.
Yeah. And while we're on that subject, this is personally what we feel is good for this character for this specific build. Different circumstances, I mean, completely. You know, if you need more blasting power, take something blasty. I mean,
they have Thunderclap. If you use Blade Ward, you can give you have resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks. At your first couple of levels, depending on what your DM's throwing at you, that's the primary damages you're going to be dealing with. So it can be something really great to go, hey, I'm going to take half damage against bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage. That's where paying attention during combat will save your life.
First level spells, or we want to jump up to...
For first level spells, you start knowing 4 spells, and you start with 2 spell slots. And for those, I went with Comprehend Languages. A couple of these I went for role-playing aspect, and some of them I did go for damage. Comprehend Languages also does have the ritual tag, so you can use it as a ritual instead of using one of your spell slots. I also went with Dissonance Whispers. And what that does is actually 3d6 of psychic damage if they fail their saving throw, and half damage if they do make their saving throw. I did also Healing Word. So his words can heal you or hurt you. And then Illusionary Script, which is also a ritual tag. And I elected to go with that one for the role-playing aspect of it, due to being able to cast it so only yourself and other people you choose can read the message correctly. Anyone else, it looks like another language, it looks like gibberish, it looks like a completely different message. It's however you choose to work it. So being a little self-centered bit of a bard, it's great. He can write out his songs, but to everyone else it looks like he's writing gibberish.
How long does that last?
That lasts... just one moment.
10 days.
10 days.
So, yeah. If he's working on something, just like, it's got to be super hush because his rival's around the corner and he never knows. He's going to write it down, illusionary script, come back to it when he knows it's safe, jot it down for real.
And the important thing to know about that is if anyone tries to cast Dispel Magic or anything, it actually destroys everything. It does not reveal the message, it destroys the message. So, the only way to get around it is if someone has True Sight. And that allows them to see through illusionary charms.
That's mostly with devils and such, though.
Yeah, that's not something you're going to run into too often, nor are too many people going to look at it and know that it's an illusionary script, so that they would need to look through.
Is that it for level 1?
That's it for level 1.
That's it for level 1. You have a level 1 bard. Go,